Yeah, you all seeing the screen here?
Yes.
Screen? Okay. All right. So, alhamdulillah, all praises due to Allah. We praise Him and we thank Him that we are able to meet again. Right now we have seven. We have Brother Latif, Brother Shaz, X Galaxy J2 Co, maybe Brother Shazim, Brother Nishon, Camille, um, Sheriff, and Sumaya. Okay. I'm not seeing the Imam logging on us yet. Is the time for Salah in the Masjid, Salat al-Isha, 8 o'clock? Is it? Okay, well, maybe we can discuss this at the end about accommodating that time. So for those who wish to go to the Masjid for Isha, okay, if you want to stop the class about 7:45, so those who wish to go to the Masjid for the Fard can do so. And if you want to start the class about 7:15, so we can finish 7:45, you know. So inshallah, you can think about it and we can make a decision at the end of the class, okay? Inshallah. Okay, so last week we started Ad-Dars al-Rabi', the fourth lesson. So I'm just going to read it again, and then we're going to read it, and everyone can say after me. Okay, it's a short lesson. We had requested everyone to memorize this last week. Inshallah, who, if not memorized, at least we have attempted to. As I said, there's a lot of benefit if you had memorized this, because it's basically, the majority of it is the conjugation of the past tense three-letter verb. Okay, so first of all, we're going to read it. Please observe and follow in your books. Please observe and follow in your books. And so we're going to begin. الدرس الرابع يوسف السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إبراهيم وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بك يا خالتي. كيف حالك؟ لعلك بخير. يوسف: الحمد لله. أين أبوك يا إبراهيم؟ إبراهيم: ذهب إلى السوق. يوسف: وأين أمك؟ إبراهيم: ذهبت إلى خالتي زينب. يوسف: وأين إخوتك؟ إبراهيم: ذهبوا إلى الجامعة. يوسف: وأين أخواتك؟ إبراهيم: ذهبنا إلى المدرسة. يوسف: أما ذهبت إلى المدرسة اليوم؟ إبراهيم: بلى، ذهبت ورجعت بعد الحصة الأولى. يوسف: لماذا رجعت؟ إبراهيم: رجعت لأنني مريض. يوسف: لا بأس، أذهبت إلى الطبيب؟ إبراهيم: نعم، ذهبت. All right. So we had gone through this. I believe we have gone through this briefly last week. As I said, this is basically introducing the past tense verb. We would have done this a while back in class, right, in our face-to-face session. And this is basically showing us how it's being used in a conversation. Okay, so we see here the past tense singular masculine third person, past tense singular feminine third person, past tense plural masculine third person, past tense plural feminine third person. Then first person singular, second person singular masculine is being used here. All right, we have about 6 or 7 of the conjugation. Right, normally one verb can be conjugated into 14 different ways. All right, so we have here about half of them here. All right, and inshallah, going on, we would learn some of the others. Okay, good. So just a few before we get into it, and I ask anybody to read, we have a few notes on this topic here. All right. So we said the past tense verb is called, in Arabic, is called madi. Madi, right? Present tense is called mudari. Past tense is madi. And we have two verbs being introduced here, ذهب and raja'a. ذهب and raja'a. All right? And ذهب means he went, and raja'a means he returned. Right? As you said, these are three-letter verbs, meaning that the root letters, there are three, right? In the case of dhahaba, it's dal, ha, and ba. And in the case of raja'a, it's ra, jim, and ain. It's important to identify these root letters, as we said many times before, because when we're looking at the patterns to be applied for the different conjugations, we have to look and see how these root letters, they are modified accordingly, and what suffixes in the case of past tense verbs, and in the case of present tense verbs, what prefixes and suffixes are added to these three root letters. Right? So this is the basic form or the root form of the verb. The other point to note here is we have, being introduced here, verbal sentences. We said in Arabic there are two types of sentences. One is the nominal sentence, and two is the verbal sentence. Okay, so the nominal sentence begins with a noun, of course, and the verbal sentence begins with a verb. What are the components of the nominal sentence? We said that many times. The verbal sentence has two components. What are they? The nominal sentence has two components. Anybody? Mubtada and the Mubtada and the khabar. Nominal sentence has mubtada and khabar. All right? And the verbal sentence has, well, as we said, the verbal sentence begins with a verb, so that it will be, the first part will be the verb, the fa'il, then you have the fa'il, and the fa'il. Okay, the fa'il is the second component of the verbal sentence. So the verbal sentence, there are three components. The fa'il, right, which is the verb. Fa'il is fa, ain, lam, fa'il. And then you have the fa'il, fa, alif, ain, lam. Fa'il, which is the doer of the verb, right? Or in English, you could call it the subject of the sentence, right? And then the third component of the verbal sentence is the maf'ul bihi. And sometimes you have maf'ul bihi, and sometimes you don't have maf'ul bihi, right? So that is called in English the object of the sentence, okay? So the three components of the verbal sentence are, anybody? Right, the fa'il, the fa'il, and the maf'ul bihi. Fa'il, fa'il, and maf'ul bihi. All right, so that's the verb, the doer of the verb, which is in English we say is the subject, and the third component, which we say sometimes we have, sometimes we don't have, is the maf'ul bihi. Maf'ul bihi, which is in English called the object. Now this is a very important analysis, just as with the mubtada and khabar. It's important in understanding Quran, in understanding Hadith, because when you have a verb beginning a sentence, it's important to know who is the doer of the verb. It's important to know who is the object or the thing that is being acted upon. And when you're looking at Quranic verses, when you're looking at hadith, it's important to know this so that the meaning, you understand the proper meaning of the verse or the particular hadith. All right? And it's very easy for it to be changed around, and if it is we don't understand this properly, the meaning, our understanding of the meaning can be wrong. Okay. So if you go through the passage here, we can see in the conversation between Yusuf and his nephew Ibrahim. Yusuf asks his nephew, Aina abuka ya Ibrahim? Where's your father, Ibrahim? Right? So Ibrahim replies, Dhahaba ila suqi. So let's look at that sentence here briefly. Dhahaba ila suqi. We have here a sentence beginning with a verb or a noun. Anybody? A verb. It begins with a verb. Therefore, it's a verbal sentence or jumlatul ismiya. Jumlatul ismiya. Jumlatul fa'liya. A verbal sentence. Okay? So if it begins with a verb, the verb obviously here will be the dhahaba, right? But then we said a verbal sentence has three components, right? It has two, it must have two, which is the fi'l and the fa'il, the verb and the do of the verb. And then the third part, the maf'ul bihi, we said sometimes it has it, sometimes it doesn't have it, depending on if the verb is transitive or intransitive, okay? So we will do that later on. So if it's a transitive verb or intransitive verb, we'll determine if there's a maf'ul bihi or no maf'ul bihi in the sentence. All right. But in this case, we have no maf'ul bihi. We have no maf'ul bihi for this verb dhahaba. So we're looking out for just two components, two basic components to comprise the sentence. Okay, they can be extra words to add to the meaning of the sentence, but we are looking for two basic components to comprise a verbal sentence. Okay, the first is the verb and the second is the do of the verb. So let's look at this sentence here. Dhahaba ila suqi. So this word dhahaba is the verb. So where is the do of the verb here?
In the ba, telling you is he went.
Right. Good guess, but no, that is not the do of the verb. Well, technically, if you can explain that a little more, Brother Nishwan.
I mean, the congregation of the word as Zahaba is saying that it means he went. So he is the doer of the verb.
Right. So right. Well,
he is the father.
Right. So it technically it is not written. Right. Correct. So it is not written in the sentence. It's understood. Right. It's called damir mustatir. Damir mustatir, which is a hidden pronoun. The hidden pronoun or the understood pronoun. So this can be used in the case where a question is asked and the reply, sometimes it doesn't, you don't need to expressly state the pronoun for it to be understood. As in this case, Yusuf is asking, where is your father? So Ibrahim replied, he went, right? So dhahaba means he went, okay? Dhahaba means he went. So here, the he or the pronoun he is understood. It's called damir mustatir or the hidden pronoun. So this sentence, you have the verb fi'l madi mabni. It is mabni, it doesn't change, right? ذهب وفاعل ضمير مستتر تقديره هو. So it is ضمير مستتر, that the hidden damir, right? Or the understood pronoun, right? He went, and then you have this extra part, ila suqi to the suq. This is extra, all right? This is not a necessary component to understand this thing, right? So this is a shibhi jumla that comes after. It's not maf'ul bihi, right? So the verbal sentence is dhahaba, right? Dhahaba. And we understand the fi'l is dhahaba and the fa'il is the hidden pronoun huwa, all right? So let's look at the next question now. Fa'aina ummuka, and where is your mother? We have a similar construct here, right? But this time we're using the feminine form, right? So where is your mother? Ibrahim replies, ذهبت ذهبت إلى خالتي زينب إلى خالتي زينب. So here you have again a verbal sentence beginning with a verb. The verb here is the feminine singular third person form, ذهبت. All right. Again, the doer of the verb or the subject of the sentence or the fa'il, it is damir mustatir. تقديره هي, meaning the mother, she. Okay, so it is again another understood pronoun. It is understood here. It's not expressly stated. And then the rest of the sentence is extra to further explain where she went to. All right. So here we have the masculine third person singular. Right. Then you have the feminine third person singular. Zahaba and zahabat. Right. Right. Any questions on that so far? Any questions? All right, if there are no questions, we can go on with the next part. So we have Wa'aina. So Yusuf is asking, Wa'aina ikhwatuka? Where are your brothers? Where are your brothers? Ibrahim replies, Dhahabu ila al-jami'ati. They went to the university. So again, we have another sentence beginning with a verb, right? Another sentence beginning with a verb. In this case, we have the doer of the verb expressed here. Okay, in this case, the suffix that gives you the third person plural masculine form of the verb, this suffix that is added on, it actually represents the attached pronoun, which is the doer of the verb here. All right. So look at, again, it's important to identify the root letters in the verb, the dal, the ha, and the ba. The dal, the ha, and the ba. All right. Zahabu. So you have the dal, the ha, and the ba are the root letters. Then this additional wow, the additional wow is called waw al jama'a, or and this is actually the fa'il or the doer of the verb. All right, and that represents the the pronoun for the masculine plural. Okay, so we're speaking about brothers, so it's masculine, it's plural, it's third person, so therefore this is what this wow represents. So in this sentence, ذهبوا إلى الجامعة, the verb is ذهب, right? Just like the other sentences. فعل ماضي مبني, all right? Then you have the fa'il or the subject or the doer of the verb. It is ضمير متصل or ضمير attached pronoun wow. Okay, is that understood? So in this case, you don't have a hidden pronoun, you have a expressed pronoun, the wow. And in this case, the aleph is additional aleph, it is silent. Okay, in all the past tense masculine plural verbs, you have this aleph added on, and it is silent. All right. Next one, Yusuf is asking, "Wa'aina akhawatuka? Where are your sisters?" Ibrahim says, "Dhahabna ilal madrasati." So here again you have the verbal sentence beginning with dhahaba. You have the three root letters, dha, li, ha, li, ba, and this time you have the noon or niswa, right? Or representing feminine, third person feminine plural. All right, so Yusuf is asking Ibrahim, "Where are your sisters?" And Ibrahim says, They went to school. They went to school. All right, in this case, the noon, it is the fa'il or the subject, is an attached pronoun. All right. Then Yusuf is asking Ibrahim, "Ama dhahabta? Ama dhahabta ila al-madrasat al-yawma?" So here you have the particle a to ask the question, then ma negates what comes after. So you still have a verbal sentence here because it begins with the verb dhahaba, even though you have two particles before it. Those are particles just to act on the sentence, but the actual sentence starts with the dhahaba, the dal, the ha, and the ba. All right. So the dhahabta, again, you have the verb is the dhahaba, and the doer of the verb, the fa'il, it is the attached pronoun ta, which of course means you went, right? You went. ذهبت, you went. إلى المدرسة اليوم, to school today, right? Next one is Bala ذهبت. So then Ibrahim replies, Bala, yes, ذهبت, I went to school. ورجعت, ذهبت ورجعت, I went and I came back. So you see here the verb ذهب, all right? And then the doer of the verb will be the attached pronoun, the ta, with the dominant to, attached pronoun to. Everybody see that? So we have Bala dhahabtu, yes, I went. Waraja'tu, and I came back, or I returned. بعد الحصة الأولى, after the first period. And Yusuf then asked him, لماذا رجعت? Why did you return? Again, you have here, رجع is to return. رجعت, you returned, right? Second person singular, masculine. Then Ibrahim says, Raja'tu, I returned, the annani, because I was sick, maridun. The annani, maridun, because I am sick. Yusufu said, La ba'sa, don't worry, or no problem. Adhahabta ila tabibi, did you go to the doctor? And Ibrahim says, Na'am, dhahabtu. All right. So that is the fa'il and fa'il. Fa'il and fa'il. The verb and the doer of the verb. Any questions on that so far? All right. Um, Another point to note here, if there are no questions, is that the ma negates the past tense verb. Okay, past tense verb. رجع, ذهب, أكل, جلس. Any past tense verb. If you put the ma in front of it, it's a negative particle. It negates that verb. Right? Ma. So you have many different uses for the particle ma. So you could ask ma hada, what is this? Ma in the sentence can be what, right? Um, right? If you ask yourself, masmuka, what is your name? And so on, right? Here, ma is a negative particle. It negates the past tense verb that comes after it. So depending on the context it comes in the sentence, you would know what that ma represents, whether it's a negative particle or whether it's asking a question like ma hada, masmuka, and so on, right? So that's a note to remember there, that the ma negates the past tense verb. Of course, that occurs many times in the Quran, the ma negating that verb after it. Okay, another point to note in this sentence, or in this exercise, in this chapter, is the Anna. We have here another one of the sisters of Inna. Remember we did the sisters of Inna? We did Inna, we did Ka'anna, we did uh, what's the other ones we did? Lakinna, and so on. All right. Here we have li'anna, li'anna. Li'anna here means because. All right. So Ibrahim said, Rajatu li'annani maridun. I came back because I was sick, or I am sick. All right. So remember the sisters of Inna, Inna and its sisters, they always make the word after it, the noun after it, in the case of nasb. Right? In this case, we don't see the nasb being expressed because it is used with the ya mutakallim. So the ya here is actually the noun or attached pronoun that is being acted upon by the anna. And we know pronouns are mabni, they don't change case or and so on. It is not expressed on the pronoun, so therefore we don't see any change on this ya here because it is a pronoun. But if it was another word following the anna, right, we will see it being changed to the case of nasb. Nasb, right? Recall that nasb is normally, not all the time, but normally reflected by, or the sign of nasb is normally a fatha on the last letter. Normally, not all the time, because there are other words that the sign of the nasb is different. Okay? Good. Any questions on this so far? This is a brief chapter, so not many concepts being introduced here other than the past tense verb. Is it clear with everyone about past tense verb? Fa'il, fa'il, maf'ul bihi. Sorry? Yeah. What's the question? Because it's a pronoun. Pronouns, the ya is a pronoun, attached pronoun. So all pronouns are mabni. They don't change. So you're not going to see any change, right? So even if it was a who or whom or hunna attached to the li anna, you wouldn't see any change in it to nas. Why? Because it's a pronoun. Alright? But if it was a regular noun, you would see it change it to nas by either taking a factor on the last letter or otherwise. Alright? Any other questions? Alright, so we have some exercises to go through here. Right. أجب عن الأسئلة الآتية. Answer the following questions. أين ذهب أبو إبراهيم? Where did the father of Ibrahim go to? Any answer? Anybody want to volunteer? Mm-hmm. Right. ذهب إلى السوق. He went to the marketplace. 2. وأين ذهبت أمه? Where did the mother of Ibrahim go to? ذهبت. She went to your aunt Zainab. She went to my aunt Zainab. Right. That's what Ibrahim said. ذهبت إلى. Because we're using the umuhu referring to Ibrahim in this third person, we shall reply using the third person. Right? So you say ذهبت إلى خالته, to his aunt Zainab. Okay? إلى خالته Zainab. متى رجع إبراهيم من المدرسة? When did Ibrahim return from school? Somebody? رجع بعد الحصة الأولى. Right. Why would we say رجع and not رجعت and not رجعت? Why would we say رجع? Anybody?
Because we answering that he returned when in the passage he was answering, I returned.
Correct. So in the passage, he was answering for himself directly. So therefore, he would say رجعت, I returned. Right? But now he's speaking about Ibrahim. He's not present here. All right. So we're speaking about him in the third person. So we would say رجع. Okay. So we would say رجع إبراهيم بعد بعد الحصة الأولى, after the first period. Okay. Now, next question. You have to put a tick or X depending if it's a correct or a true or false statement. Okay. واحد. إبراهيم ابن أخت يوسف. Ibrahim is the son of the sister of Yusuf. Okay, so we know that Yusuf is the uncle of Ibrahim, but is it his mother's brother? Is Yusuf Ibrahim's mother brother or father brother? We call him his Khali. Khali is it father brother or mother brother? We said this last week. Anybody remember? Anybody? None. This is his mother, brother. Okay. So this is Sahih. 9. So the call is the mother, brother. Khalatu or khalatun is mother, sister. Then am is the father, brother, and ama with a tarma at the end. It is the father, sister. Okay. Next one. Yusufu Ammu Ibrahim. Right, look at here. Am is what? I just said it. So is it Sahih or Ghairu Sahih? Yusuf is the uncle of Ibrahim. Ghairu Sahih. It's not his Am, he is his Khal. Okay? Next one. أخوات إبراهيم ذهبنا إلى المكتبة. Sisters of Ibrahim went to the library. Sahih or Ghairu Sahih?
Gairu Sahi.
Ghairu Sahih is not correct.
Oh.
ذهبنا إلى المدرسة. They went to school. Right? إخوة إبراهيم ذهبوا إلى الجامعة. The brothers of Ibrahim went to university. صحيح أو غير صحيح؟ صحيح أو غير صحيح؟ صحيح. They did go to the university. ما ذهب إبراهيم إلى الطبيب. Ibrahim did not go to the doctor. صحيح أو غير صحيح؟ صحيح. غير صحيح. He did go to the doctor. All right? So this statement is غير صحيح. The ma negates the verb. Remember that, right? So when you say ma dhahaba, we are saying he did not go. Ibrahim did not go, right? All right, so we have question 3 here where we have to conjugate the verb dhahaba and use it in the following sentences. All right, so we have the word dhahaba or the verb dhahaba, and you have to conjugate it and put it into the following sentences. Good. So I'm going to do the first 1 or 2, and then we're going to ask for volunteers for the rest. Okay. واحد الأولاد something إلى الملعب. الأولاد something إلى الملعب. Right. الملعب, it is the playground, the area where the children play. Right. So you have the word الأولاد. ما معنى الأولاد؟ الأولاد children, right? Okay. So al-awlad something ila al-mal'abi. The children something to the playground, right? I'm using the verb dhahaba. So what conjugation? How would you change the verb dhahaba to fit in this sentence? So as I said, I'll do the first couple. So al-awladu dhahabu ila al-mal'abi. So you have the dal, the ha, the ba, and then you have the waw attached to it with the silent aleph. Remember that from the passage? The silent aleph. So this is the third person, plural, masculine form of the verb. Third person, plural, masculine form. ذهبوا إلى الملعب. Right? الأولاد ذهبوا إلى الملعب. Right? Number 2, الطالبات something إلى المدرسة. The students, the female students, went to the school or went to school. So we have to use the third person feminine plural, third person feminine plural for this sentence here. Okay, so we have dal, ha, and ba, and we join onto that the nun niswa or the nun di fatha, and so you will get dhahabna. Now, dhahabna ilal madrasati. So you have at-talibatu dhahabna ilal madrasati. At-talibatu dhahabna. Notice the na with just the fatha, no aleph after the noon. You don't make it long. You don't say dhahabna, because there's something different we say in there. All right? So we say to the noon with just the fatha on it, dhahabna. إلى المدرسة. Okay, the female students went to school. نعم. الثلاثة, number 3. المدرسة something, sorry, المدرس something إلى الفصل. نورا. نعم. المدرس ذهب إلى الفصل. So it's just the roots word here, right? Dal, ha, and ba. Dal, ha, and ba. Right, next one. Arba'a. Anybody else? Any volunteers? Abdul Basit. أنا ذهبت المطار. المطار is the airport. Right. أنا ذهبت إلى المطار. I went to the airport. So the same roots here, dal, ha, and ba, and around it the ta with the dhamma on top of it, to. So you get ذهبت. Right? أنا ذهبت إلى المطار. Next one, any volunteers? We have Yahya, we have Zakaria, we have Sumaya. Anybody?
أختي ذهبت إلى المطبخ.
نعم. أختي ذهبت إلى المطبخ. Right? My sister went to the kitchen. Right? So you will use the third person feminine singular. Third person feminine singular. ذهبت. Remember the passage we supposed to memorize? أين أمك؟ ذهبت إلى خالتي زينب. ذهبت. So third person feminine singular. All right. Last one. Any volunteers? أين something أنت.
أين ذهبت أنت؟
نعم. So you're speaking to somebody, masculine, so it's anta. So you would say أين ذهبت with ta and the fatha join on at the end, right? أين ذهبت أنت. Where did you go? Where did you go? Now, just want to pause here for 2 minutes. I don't know if you want, I don't know if the Imam is leaving to go to the masjid or if he's sticking around. Imam, can you hear us? صحح الجمل الآتية. Correct the following sentences. Correct the following sentences. So we have some sentences here, 1 to 6. They have one or more errors in them, so we have to look out for the errors and fix it, right? So let's look at the first one, right? أذهبت إلى المستشفى يا محمد. أذهبت إلى المستشفى يا محمد. Anybody can see our error here? ذهبت is the error. What is it supposed to be? ذهبت. So he's asking Muhammad a question. ذهبت, did you go إلى المستشفى, to the hospital, يا محمد. Okay, so it's supposed to be ذهبت. Right, next one. آمنة وفاطمة وزينب رجعوا من الجامعة. Where's the error here? رجعوا is the error. Okay, because this is used for masculine third person plural. What do we have here? We have feminine third person plural we're supposed to be, right? Because we're talking about Amina, Fatima, and Zainab. So this is supposed to be رجعنا. رجعنا, the feminine plural, they returned من الجامعة, from the university. Next one. زملائي ذهب إلى مكة. زملائي ذهب إلى مكة. Where's the error in that sentence?
In the same Zahaba,
Dhahaba, right.
supposed to be Zahabu.
Naam, dhahabu. Because the zumala is plural, right?
Yeah,
Zamil,
male plural.
right, male plural. So zamil is singular, plural is zumala, right? So zumala'i, my friends, right? That and supposed to be correct pronunciation. Dhahabu with the waw and the alif added at the end, right? So it will be third person masculine plural form of the verb dhahaba, right? So zumala'i dhahabu ila makkata. My friends went to Makkah. Next one, ana raja'ta min al-riyadi amsi. Ana raja'ta min al-riyadi amsi. Where's the error there? Mhm. Right, so it's supposed to be raja'tu. Ana raja'tu. Ana dhahabtu. Ana jalastu. So it's the first person singular would be the two. In this case, the error would be in this ta here. So it's supposed to be two, right? So ana raja'tu min riyadi ams. I returned from Riyadh ams yesterday. Next one, Maryam wa banatuha. Maryamu wa banatuha dhahabat ila Jeddah. Maryam and her children or her daughters went to Jeddah. Jeddah is a city in Saudi Arabia. Okay, so the error here is in the verb dhahaba, dhahabat. Because it's plural, it's supposed to be dhahabna, dhahabna. Right? Maryam wa banatuha. Maryam and her daughters dhahabna ila Jeddah. They went to Jeddah. Last one, Ummi qala ana maridun. Where's the error here?
The caller. So
Right. Supposed to be
Ummi Kolat
Naam.
and Anna Marie Dotton.
Naam. So it would be Ummi, my mother, said, and instead of qala, we use feminine third person singular, qalat, with the ta, sukun after it. Right? Qalat, ana maridatun. And it's because his mother, we would add the ta marbuta at the end of maridun. Right? So it's maridatun, maridatun. Naam. Asantum. Next one. أجب عن الأسئلة الآتية بنفع مستعملا ما. So answer the following questions using the negative particle ma. Okay. So the question is posed here, and then you have to answer it in the negative using ma. All right. So let's look at it. أذهبت إلى المدرسة أمس؟ أذهبت إلى المدرسة أمس. Did you go to school yesterday? How would we reply in negative? We would say la. Right? This is not a negative question. Be careful here, right? The question is not a negative question where we say alaysa or ama and so on, right? This is a straight question, but we reply in the negative. So we would say la to reply. Okay? So we say أذهبت إلى المدرسة أمس? The answer would be لا ما ذهبت. Right? So somebody is addressing you directly ذهبت, and you will reply ذهبت. ما ذهبت إلى المدرسة الأمس. إلى المدرسة أمس. Right? Next one. أرجع أبوك من بغداد؟ أرجع أبوك من بغداد? Did your father come back from Baghdad? The answer will be لا ما رجع أبي من بغداد. Right? So no, My father did not return from Baghdad. Next one. أذهبت أختك إلى المستشفى? Did your sister go to hospital? You reply لا ما ذهبت أختي إلى إلى المستشفى. No, my sister did not go to the hospital. Right? Any questions about these couple or three or four exercises we did so far? Any questions? Okay, the next one is just an exercise showing how li'anna is applied. Okay? تأمل ما يلي. Observe what follows. You have the word li'anna. So we top of page تسعة تسعة وعشرون page 29. Alright, li'anna, we said it is one of the sisters of Anna. Right? It is a combination of the li and the Anna. The Anna, sorry, is one of the sisters of Inna. Right? The Anna and look, okay, so they say it here, wa Anna min akhawata Inna. So Anna is one of the sisters of Inna. So therefore you have the Anna plus huwa, you will get the Annahu. The Anna plus hiya, you will get the Annaha. You all see that here? The Anna plus anta, you get the Annaka. The Annaka. Right? It's very similar to Ka'anna. Ka'anna, where we said, went to in the previous chapter, is as if. Ka'anna is like comparing something, it is as if. Here, instead of Ka'anna, we have li'anna, and this means because. All right? So li'annahu, because he. Li'annaha, because she. Li'annaka, because you, and so on. All right? So this is how it is used with the pronouns. Example underneath here. رجع حامدا حامد رجع حامد من المدرسة لأنه مريض. Hamid returned from school because he was sick. لأنه مريض. Next one. رجعت آمنة من المدرسة لأنها مريضة. Amina returned from school because she was sick. Last one. رجعت من المدرسة لأنني مريضة. Right? So this one would be a female student speaking because you have the tamamuta at the end there. مريضة. Okay? So رجعت, I returned. You can't tell is male or female from just that first part, raja'tu, because if it's a female, they would say raja'tu. If it's a male, they would say raja'tu. As we said before, first person does not have gender. That kind of first person masculine, first person feminine in the text, right? So raja'tu min al-madrasati. I returned from school. The annani, because I, maridatun, because I am sick. And from that tamabuta, in the maridatun, we know it is feminine. It's a female student speaking there. Okay? Good. Any questions? Okay, we will pause here today, inshallah. We have one exercise to go through again next week. Please, I implore everyone to read over the passage again. If you didn't get a chance to memorize it, try to memorize the conversation at the beginning of the passage. All right? And go through the exercises again. Right? The sooner you go through it, is the better. It will stick better in your memory. And inshallah, next week, we will spend just 5-10 minutes doing a quick recap of these exercises. Then do the last exercise here. All right? And then begin the new chapter, chapter 5. Adarsul Khamis. All right? Good. دعاء كفارة سورة العصر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات تواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Okay, I now see that text from the Imam here.